My name is Margaret. I'm 74 years old. I'm recording this because I don't know how much time I have left to say it. Not because I'm sick. I'm fine physically. But time moves differently now, and there are things I've carried that I never put into words. This is one of them. I grew up in a house where we didn't talk about certain things. Not because we were cruel, not because we didn't love each other. We just didn't know how. My mother would hum while she ironed. My father would read the paper after dinner. My brother would go outside and throw a ball against the garage door until it got dark. We were a family, but we were also very separate. I didn't realize that until much later. When I was 19, I met a boy named Daniel. He worked at the hardware store on Main Street. I'd go in sometimes to buy nails or light bulbs for my father, and Daniel would always help me find what I needed. He had dark hair and a crooked smile. He laughed at things that weren't funny. He made me feel like I was someone worth noticing. We started seeing each other that summer. We'd meet after his shift and walk down by the river. He'd tell me about the places he wanted to go, California, maybe New York. He said he didn't want to stay in that town forever. He said he wanted to do something that mattered. I didn't know what I wanted. I just knew I liked being with him. We were together for almost a year, and then one night he told me he was leaving. He'd saved up enough money. He was going to drive out west and try to find work. He didn't have a plan. He just knew he had to go. He asked me to come with him. I remember that night so clearly. We were sitting in his car, parked near the old bridge. The windows were fogged up. The radio was playing something low. He turned to me and said, "Margaret, I want you to come with me." And I didn't say anything. Not because I didn't want to. I did. God, I did. But I thought about my mother and my father and the life I was supposed to have, the one that made sense, the one that didn't scare anyone. I thought about what people would say. I thought about how my mother would look at me if I left. So I told him I couldn't. He didn't argue. He just nodded. He looked out the window for a long time. Then he said, "I understand." But I don't think he did. I don't think I did either. He left 2 weeks later. I stood on the porch and watched his car disappear down the road. I told myself I'd made the right choice. I told myself I was being responsible, practical, smart. I told myself a lot of things. A few months later, I married someone else. His name was Robert. He was a good man, steady, reliable. He worked at the bank. We had a nice wedding. My mother cried. My father shook his hand. Everyone said we were a perfect match. And we were fine. We built a life together. We had 2 daughters. We bought a house with a yard. We went to church on Sundays. We hosted dinners. We took vacations to the same lake every summer. Robert was kind to me. He provided for us. He never raised his voice. He was everything a husband was supposed to be. But I never told him about Daniel. Not because it would have hurt him, but because I didn't know how to explain what Daniel had been. He wasn't just a boy I loved. He was the part of me that wanted something I couldn't name. The years went by. I raised my daughters, I kept the house, I made meals and folded laundry, and attended school plays and birthday parties. I was a mother, a wife, a neighbor, a friend. I was all the things I was supposed to be. But there was a part of me that stayed 19. The part that sat in that car by the bridge. The part that said no. I didn't think about Daniel every day, but sometimes I would. I'd be washing dishes or driving to the grocery store, and I'd wonder where he ended up. If he made it to California, if he found what he was looking for, if he ever thought about me. When I turned 40, I found a box of old letters in the attic. Letters I'd written to myself when I was younger, poems I'd copied from books, a ticket stub from a movie Daniel and I had seen together. I sat on the floor and cried. Not because I missed him, but because I missed the version of myself who thought life could be anything. Robert found me up there. He asked if I was okay. I said I was fine, just going through old things. He nodded and went back downstairs. I never told him what I was really crying about. I stayed married to Robert for 38 years. He passed away 6 years ago. Heart attack. Quick. He didn't suffer. At the funeral, people said we'd had a beautiful life together. And we did. But it wasn't the only life I could have had. After Robert died, I started thinking about Daniel again, more than I had in years. I wondered if he was still alive, if he'd gotten married, if he'd had children, if he remembered me at all. I thought about looking for him, but I didn't. Because what would I say? That I regretted not going with him? That I spent 40 years wondering what might have happened? That I loved my daughters and my life, but there was always a part of me that felt like it was waiting for something that never came. I don't think I was unhappy. I don't think I made the wrong choice, but I do think I spent my whole life being careful, being the person other people needed me to be, and I never asked myself what I needed. Last year, my daughter found an old photograph. It was in a book I'd kept on the shelf for decades. She brought it to me and asked, "Who's this?" It was Daniel. We were standing by the river. He had his arm around me. I was laughing. I looked so young. I told her he was someone I used to know. She said, "You look really happy in this." I nodded. I didn't say anything else.
I've been thinking a lot about silence lately. Not the kind of silence that's peaceful, the kind that builds up over years, the kind that becomes a wall between you and the things you never said. I think about all the conversations I didn't have, with my mother, with Robert, with my daughters, with Daniel, with myself. I think about the night he asked me to go with him, and I wonder what would have happened if I'd said yes. Maybe it would have been a disaster. Maybe we would have run out of money. Maybe we would have fought. Maybe we would have realized we didn't belong together. Maybe, but I'll never know. And that's the part I can't let go of. Not the idea that I made a mistake, but the fact that I never gave myself the chance to find out. I spent so much of my life being afraid of what people would think, afraid of disappointing someone, afraid of wanting too much, afraid of being too much. And the thing is, no one ever asked me to be that way. I just was. My daughters are grown now. They have their own lives, their own families. They call me on Sundays. They visit on holidays. They're good to me. But sometimes I wonder if they know me at all. Because I never told them about the person I was before I became their mother. I never told them about the choices I made, the ones I didn't make, the things I wanted that I never let myself reach for. I don't think I was trying to hide anything. I just didn't think it mattered. I thought being a good mother meant keeping that part of myself separate. But now I'm not sure. Maybe the best thing I could have given them was the truth, not the polished version, the real one. A few months ago, I drove past the hardware store where Daniel used to work. It's something else now, a coffee shop, I think. I parked across the street and just sat there for a while. I tried to remember what it felt like to be 19, to sit in his car and believe the world was bigger than the town I grew up in. I couldn't. Not really. That version of me is gone. But I think about her sometimes. The girl who almost left. The one who said no because she thought it was the right thing to do. I wonder what she would think of me now. If she'd be proud of the life I built, or if she'd be disappointed that I never took the risk. I don't know. I'll never know. I'm 74 years old, and there's a part of my life I never spoke about. Not because it was shameful, not because it didn't matter, but because I didn't know how. And now, all these years later, I'm sitting here trying to put it into words. Not because I think it will change anything, but because I need to say it out loud. I had a chance once, and I didn't take it. And I built a good life anyway. But I still think about it. I think I always will. If you've stayed with me this long, thank you. I don't know why I felt like I needed to say this. Maybe you'll understand. Maybe you won't. Either way, I'm glad I finally did.